Good afternoon, grade 6. We are here for History, Week 2, Lesson 2. Yesterday, we went through a video that spoke all about migrants and their history in Australia and our immigration policies. We had a little bit of a chat about that and we did question 1 of our workbook. Now, we've moved into question 2 there today. So let's have a quick run through about what we're doing. We'll have a timeline to work through and then I'll walk through the question that we're doing today. We're doing question 2 only today, so it's a reasonably short history lesson. So let's hear what this young fella has to say. He says, in our study of history, we explore continuity, the ability to continue, and change. Remember that parts of the past that remain the same over certain periods of time are referred to as continuities. Basically, stuff that stays the same. Okay? Now, question 2 says, identify the continuities, stuff that stays the same, and changes in the status, rights, and experiences of immigrants since Australia's federation by completing the table below. Use the timeline of key events below to help you. Some of the information has been completed to help get you started. So let's run through this timeline and you will use this timeline to answer and fill in this table. So our timeline here has most, if not all, the information we need, but yesterday's video also could be a helpful resource if you need it or if you get stuck. So we have here 1901, the Immigration Restriction Act. Also in 1901 was the same year that we federated. We actually became from several different colonies. You recall last year we became Australia and one country. And that Immigration Restriction Act, which means stop immigration or limit it, came in during federation, so they started at the same time. Then we move our way through. We have 1914 to 1918 is World War One. As we're moving across here, we have 1939 to 1945 World War Two. 1945, the Assisted Migration Scheme. So if you recall from the video yesterday, that was when the government actually realised off the back of World War Two, hey, we need a greater population, we need to fill this place up. So we're going to give incentives, you guys know what that word means, to people from other countries to move to Australia. We'll provide you with jobs, we'll pay your ticket over, come over and make Australia home so we can fill our country up. That will give us a stronger economy and a better chance to defend our country if we get to the stage where we need to. Vietnam War, 55 to 1979, and the Racial Discrimination Act from 1975. Now we recall the Racial Discrimination Act from yesterday's video was put in place to stop people being discriminated against or being stopped, limited from doing things, entering the country, getting or not getting jobs, or in general, people just treating people well on the basis of anything except for the quality of their character or their skills and traits. So that basically means that you can't judge somebody or you can't limit people and their experiences or their opportunities based upon who they are or where they come from. Because beyond being fair, that's just not the right thing to do, and we can't base things on that. So on a very serious note, the Racial Discrimination Act in 1979 really sought to stamp that out so we could have a fairer society, especially if we're talking about immigration. So let's have a look at this table down below and see what we actually need to do today. You'll notice that there are 4 columns: date, event, continuities in migrant status and rights. Stuff that stayed the same, remember. So did things stay the same or were there things that changed? And there are changes here. So in each of the dates on here, so World War, World War II, there was an event, so Immigration Restriction Act. There was something that stayed the same for migrants and their rights, and there were things that changed. So let's have a look at an example for the first one. So you need to fill in what the date was. The event, it tells us. So there's the date there, we might pop that one in. Continuities in migrant status and rights. So what things stayed the same for migrants in their rights and what they were able to do? Did much stay the same? It's hard to say. But lots of things certainly did change with that Restriction Act. We had the federal government started to control immigration. The dictation test was introduced, if we recall back to the video. And at this point we're starting to realise that maybe watching that video again might be helpful, or even pausing it as we go. Chinese and South Sea Islanders were prevented from immigrating, so that was another change that happened with migrants' rights. As we work our way through, we'll notice again that we have a date here, there's an event that matches that, what things stayed the same. So white immigrants were still wanted, and very few rights for non-British and non-European migrants. So that was still the same. The rights didn't really improve for non-European migrants, but there were some changes, and that was that the government started offering incentives, and they started trying to promote people to come here. So there's one more there, the Racial Discrimination Act that we find all the way up here in 1975. You need to have a think, what things stayed the same? Well, I think in terms of white immigration, people from white-based countries, they were still allowed to. That didn't really change for them, but did it improve for any other countries, any other types of people? Did that get any better? You also have to pop in the date there as well. Folks, that's our lesson today. That's all that is. I would encourage you to go back to yesterday's lesson, yesterday's link, and watch through the video again. It absolutely will help you, especially when it comes to filling out our 2 columns here that need to be filled. Obviously, this one's done for us here. You just need to fill in things that stay the same in this instance. But the extra information that you might need, if you're getting a little bit stuck or you've got a little bit of trouble there, you're trying to recall, you will find in that video. Boys and girls, that's it. That's lesson 2 for history, week 2. I'll see you tomorrow.